Welcome to another week of Huddle Up on Northwest Access TV, another week of Huddle Up, another week of some sports talk, football especially. We're back to the original two, JT alongside me to my right after taking a week off last week to do his actual job.
I know, it's annoying.
We wish we could be paid for this, but we're not that good. We're not even close to that good. We're not even, what did Bryce call it? This is why I'm doing public access television, something like that, when he was talking about his power rankings.
We would have to really move up in the world, like really, really high, Mike and Mike's status in order to be paid enough.
I think it's moved down because there's not many opportunities up here in northern Vermont, so we actually have to move down, probably to like New York.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure that we could be better than any of the guys who talk on ESPN radio in Vermont.
That sounds like a challenge. It's also weird that they stole part of our name. They're the Huddle on ESPN, 1013 ESPN.
They
and
suck.
We started Huddle Up more than 2 years ago. So I just want to throw that out there that we did take the Huddle first. I'm just throwing it. We should have copyrighted it.
We should have.
But we didn't. And I've actually seen Huddle Up in many places, including Vegas on my trip last year, where there was like a sports restaurant and it said Huddle Up here at the thing. Quick note, new graphics. Woohoo! Awesome.
Yay!
We've been doing that for like 4 weeks now. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. What better way to begin our show than with some show starters, eh?
I like it.
Okay, mine is Gronkowski. I want him to sit, not just for his suspension. I want him to sit for the rest of the year. And this is the reason that Tre'Davious White, who he hit, had come out and said, and I think I'm like the only one talking about this, the hood's coming out for him. Now, I'm not getting into the whole whatever meaning of the hood or anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm saying, he's basically saying, our team is going to come after you.
Oh, yeah.
What you did, you should not have done. I don't accept your apology. We're coming after you. If that's the case, in 3 weeks from now, on Christmas Eve, the Buffalo Bills come to New England. I don't want Gronkowski on that field. I don't want him anywhere close to the field. I want him up in the owner's box, sipping on whatever. I don't want him anywhere close to that field because that is a game where you can lose him for the playoffs because this is a Buffalo team that if they either lose this week or next week or the Pats win this week or next week, Buffalo can't win the division and they're a long shot to get into the playoffs and the AFC as well. I don't want them anywhere near that field on Christmas Eve.
Do you think that it's just Buffalo that's putting a target on Gronk's back?
Absolutely. I do.
I don't.
Okay, we'll get into that. So we'll go to you. Speaking of hard hits, illegally more hard hits. Is that what we say? No, less illegally?
Well, see, this is what I really find interesting in football, and you and I have watched football for years. And
I
throughout
just started.
time,
This is my first year.
the game has definitely changed, and it's changed because of true purpose. It's about keeping players safe and making sure that people can play the game, not get hurt. And throughout the last couple of weeks, we've seen a very wide variety of hits. We've seen Gronk completely after a play be frustrated, throw himself.
First time he's ever done that, by the way.
Yep. A 275-pound man throw everything he's got into the back of the head of another player.
Yep.
Who's not looking.
Nope.
Completely after the play. Then we see hits like Perfect, which is a huge rivalry game between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, where Juju Smith.
And they have history.
Oh,
this isn't like the first time we've seen Perfect do that. This isn't the first time that that Perfect, I think, has hit one of their players this year.
No. But Juju Smith comes across the field, blindside, smokes Perfect.
You can call it blindside. His body was turned. His head wasn't.
Yeah. But the way I look at that play, and I understand why it's a flag. I understand why they suspended him, and then I think Schuster's got pulled. I think
Schuster's still suspended for one game.
Oh, it's the other one that got lifted?
Ioka.
Yeah.
Ioka
All right.
in the end zone.
So anyway, Juju goes, smokes him, gets a flag, gets a suspension, and I can look at that and go, it's a football play. It really is. I mean, at the end of the day, I can see why it's a flag, I can see why it's a penalty, and I can see why you're suspending him, so on and so forth. But it's a football play. When then you look at the hit in the end zone, Ioka versus Antonio Brown, again, football play, end zone, you're really just trying to get the ball out of Antonio Brown's hands. It's a bad hit. It's ugly, and it was totally illegal, but it had a purpose during the play.
So let's go right. This is going right into our show topic. We're just bleeding right into it because this is what's being talked about right now. Ioka should absolutely be suspended for what he did to Antonio Brown. Because one, if you even watching that in real time, I thought, oh yeah, the equivalent of a college targeting. Mm-hmm. Should absolutely be gone for one game. The Juju, I think he should be as well because I think there was more than just intent. I think there was more than just a football play there. I think there was intent.
You could see it.
Remember, you know what I thought of all the time was in The Waterboy. Okay? I know, this is weird. I'm going into a weird place right now. Adam Sandler gets talked down to by what number? It's a number that everyone kind of remembers. 62. You always remember 62. Okay, so in his mind, he's always thinking 62, 62. He intercepts the ball. What does he do? Gives it to 62 so he can kick his butt. Okay? This is what I think that the Bengals, the Steelers had in their mind too. I don't know. I think Burfekt's 55 or something like that. But I feel like that's always in their mind. 55. Got to hit 55. Got to hit 55. So I think there was more. It kind of, to me, relates a little more towards when the Saints were doing their whole bounty gate.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's kind of the same thing. It's an agreement amongst players. I'm not saying there's money involved. I'm just saying there's agreement amongst the players in that Steelers locker room. If you can get a hit on this guy, do it. And it's not because he's a good player. It's because he's a dirty player.
It's not so much that he's dirty.
He's a dirty player.
It's from one play.
He's been suspended twice in the last 2 years for the same exact thing. That's dirty.
The one against Antonio Brown, was it in the playoffs?
Yes.
It was in the playoffs.
Last game of the season last year, right?
And that was...
Or playoff.
Egregious, whatever, however you want to call it.
Received his 3-game suspension of this year for that.
But that's kind of what I want to talk about.
And then he was also suspended for another 3 games this year because of a preseason hit he had. It was a hit he had during preseason. He was suspended 6 games this year.
He has a history of it, which is why he got the second 3-game suspension. But he got a 3-game suspension on the hit on Antonio Brown in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. What makes that more egregious than what Gronk did?
Right, and I agree with you. I don't think that what Gronk did is clearly, in my mind, more is a lot worse than what anyone's done on the field because it was after the play. It's a player that's not involved. He's on the ground, literally huddling on the ball in the out of bounds area,
facing the other direction.
And Gronk, it was like Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Yeah. You see, he's there, and then all of a sudden, this monster takes over. Honestly, when it was happening, you could almost see the fire in Gronk's eyes. Like this is not the Gronkowski you know.
No.
This is not the player that the Patriots grew up loving. This was like a complete and opposite monster that you saw do this to him. Mm-hmm. However, while I say it was an in-the-moment thing, I still don't really believe in Gronkowski's apology that he had afterwards as well. It just didn't. It seemed very, not fake, but more like eye for an eye. Hey, I got held, so I'm going to hit you. It doesn't really make sense because you're blaming the wrong person. Don't blame the guy who's holding you. Blame the person who's not calling the holding. So I feel like the frustration was definitely actually targeted towards someone that it shouldn't have been to. So to get back to your point, I think Gronk, I think I said originally when I saw this happen, Gronk should be suspended for at least a couple games. And I honestly said I hope it was 3 games because then he wouldn't be out there for Buffalo. I said 3 games would be perfect. I said he won't be out there for Miami, which I think they can still win on Monday night. He won't be out there for the Steelers. Great. Steelers don't get a look at Gronkowski until the playoffs. Awesome. Love that. And he won't be out there for Buffalo. Great. No one's going to come after his knees. And then he probably won't play the last game either because they'll have it wrapped up for week 17. Yeah. Gronk gets a 4 week. What happened when Brady took 4 weeks off? He almost won the MVP. I would rather Gronkowski take a healthy 4 weeks off and be ready for the playoffs. And actually, it'd be 5 weeks because they'll likely have a first-round bye. So I was okay with saying, as a fan, spend him for a long time. But
take the option away.
Now, take that out of it. Take the fanism out of it. He should have been suspended for a lot longer because but that's just not the way the direction of the NFL is going because you had brawls this year. You had brawls between Aqib Talib, and was it Crabtree? I don't remember. And
For the
they
second
got,
year in a
they
row.
got 2 games. It was reduced to 1. You had 2 players that looked like they were ready for a boxing match and actually taking swings at each other that only got 1 game. And then
But this is my catch to that. You look at a play like that, they are facing each other. They are going man to man. Their risk of getting hurt is really how dumb they are in swinging.
Which is
fists
what
at a
Crabtree was
helmet.
doing, too.
But you look at what Gronk did, you could potentially end someone's career or realistically their life by doing what you
Absolutely.
did. What they did was a boxing match on a football field.
No, and I've always said, I actually kind of like the fighting in football.
Oh, that doesn't bother me one
Right,
bit.
and I think it should because it's not part of the game. It shouldn't be, but we do it. It's involved in hockey. We kind of look the other way when it happens in baseball. It's like, it's part of the game. It gets the juices flowing again.
If
It's
you
a
play
long
the sport,
season.
you look at that and go, at the end of the day, we all have that one person that we've gone up against that you have the tension. That is the game. It may not be a part of the game, but it is the game. In our snowball, we have our one player who we have a frustrating time against, and it makes us all rev up a little bit.
Right.
It's the nature of the beast. It may not be football, but it is football.
Right. But to get back, what Gronk did is it's inexcusable. But at the same time, we do understand that. Then, like I said, it's nature to be. The frustration takes over, and sometimes you do things you instantly regret, and that's one of those things. Now, a lot of people are kind of icing over it in a way. I mean, there's still like this big witch hunt to have him suspended for longer, but there's this look on him that says, well, it's the first time he's ever done something like this. But I think it's his explanation of why he did it, which is what sits so bad with me, is that you're basically saying, well, he held me, so I hit him when he wasn't looking. That doesn't seem like, I mean, honestly, if he didn't target with his head, if he just fell on the guy afterwards,
It'd be one thing.
We'd all be looking and like, oh, Gronk, and we're not, because he went at him with his helmet to helmet. The guy's out for a week because of concussion protocol, which is what I had said.
Which is best case scenario.
It's best case scenario. And what I had said is, you know what, I'm more of a fan of if that person's suspended if that person's out for a week because of injury, so is the guy that hit him. And I'm willing to give up that whole right of, well, it's not fair. What if he wants to sit out another week because he doesn't feel well? I'm like, well, if the doctor says he's okay to play, then that other player gets to come back in. And that's where I think the whole hitting can be over. If he hits, if Antonio Brown has to sit out for a week, then so does Ioka.
Yeah.
Tough for you, man, but that guy's out because of what you did. Here's your consequence.
My caveat to it is really when I look at Goodell and the fact he got his deal, the fact he got his extension boggles my mind for the
10 years,
simple
right?
fact that.
But we'll get into that. Go ahead.
The simple fact that you go after New England.
Witch hunt.
Deflategate.
Witch hunt.
You suspend Brady for 4 games for cheating.
For more probable than not of knowing that balls were being deflated.
Yes. And you suspend a player
Just knowing,
who potentially
maybe.
could have ended somebody's career 1 game. I don't get it. And that's my biggest pet peeve.
Remember though, there is a line here or a lineage of who is actually doing the suspensions. Yes, it is approved by Goodell, but Goodell doesn't look at the play and go 1 game, 4. He's not the judge in that sense. There is a suspension committee that takes on these actions. It just has to be approved by Goodell. So keep that in mind.
Again, this is my caveat.
Don't point the finger at Goodell every time.
We look at the brawls that have gone on. Like you said, there's been a couple of them this year. We've looked at
AJ Green against Jacksonville.
Yep.
We had Mike Evans one to up until this week was, to me,
the most egregious out of the 3.
I would put the Mike Evans hit on the same level as Gronkowski because the guy's
After the play, blindside.
Because the guy's not looking.
Yep.
The guy's not looking, and he could have seriously injured him. But no one's talking about the Mike Evans one like they are the Gronk one. It's the same thing in my mind. Absolutely, because it's a guy after the play where something has happened, you're taking matters into your own hands on a guy that has no idea it's coming.
I'm not going to.
But no one's comparing those two, and that drives me insane.
Well, this
it's
is my
because
only
he's
caveat.
Gronkowski and Mike
I don't
Evans
think it's just
is
about
playing for Tampa
Gronkowski.
Bay. That's 4-8.
I
No
don't
one
think
cares.
it's just because Gronkowski. When you
Absolutely
look at
think
Mike
it's because of
Evans,
Gronkowski.
Mike Evans, they were both standing up.
Mike Evans, I don't believe he was suspended 1 game.
They were both standing up. It was definitely blindside. It was after the play.
It doesn't, regardless of him standing up or not, he could have hit him.
Mike Evans is not a 275-pound man,
but he's running
jumping on the back of somebody's head.
Gronkowski isn't running at full speed.
No.
Okay.
He's a 275-pound man,
but he's not running at full speed.
On the top
Mike
of
Evans
somebody's
is
head.
literally running it as fast as he can to knock this guy over.
I don't necessarily know if he was running fast as he killed.
Oh, come on.
He only
as quick as he comes into the.
He only ran from like there to here.
Please.
I'm not going to say that one's more egregious than the other.
They were both.
They were both similarly played. I just think one. I think Gronkowski's had more risk of injury.
I think if the committee was smart, that's the hit they looked at to compare it. They said, okay, look what we did with Mike Evans. Here is a similar hit to this one. That's where they went with it. It's an after the play fact. It wasn't during a play. It wasn't something like that. But it was egregious enough where, okay, what's similar? What have we done recently? Okay, Mike Evans did almost the exact same thing. Let's just do the same penalty because at least we have a basis for saying like, oh, okay, this is look what we did here. Same thing. It was after the play. He bull rushed him type of thing. It's okay. That's what we're gonna do. So and then you're trying to compare it to an in-game thing with a player that has a history in someone like Burfict. I think that's why the suspensions are a little harder for him because he keeps doing it.
Oh, without a doubt.
And it honestly should be similar to a PEDs thing where, okay, if you're caught with PEDs, you get 4 games. If you're caught with PEDs again, you're done for the year. If you get caught a third time, you're out indefinitely. So I think that's the direction that these hits should be.
Till Josh Gordon comes back.
Till Josh Gordon comes back, who's on my fantasy team. Thank you, Gordon. But I think that they should adopt, and I think this is similar for a lot of rules that are in college football, honestly, is the targeting equals ejection. Now, in college football, when you have a player that targets a player with their helmet, the play is reviewed. It's not up to the judge. It's not up to a judgment call, quick decision by the refs right then and there because there's so many things that happen in the NFL, and the speed of the NFL is almost impossible to see everything at one time or the angle of everything. They review it, and then they eject the player from there. That's exactly what should happen. However, there has to be, in my opinion, some bit of judgment call as to did the receiver start to duck down during that? Because if you're looking at it, and I think that's why we'll never actually get to this point, if the receiver's upright and that person comes at you, they're probably hitting you in the shoulder. But at that last second, the receiver dips down. Okay, now it looks like targeting. The Antonio Brown play in the end zone with Ioka, they're actually going almost at the exact same moment. So I feel, in my opinion, Ioka knows what he was doing at that point. Mm-hmm. He knew that he was leading with his helmet towards Antonio. And he wasn't going to hit him in the chest or the shoulder pads. Because I think we've seen this more, and I've started to focus in on this more. You're seeing a lot more players actually focus on wrapping a player up and hitting them square.
Yep.
And I'm appreciating that more than ever before. And it goes into what we were talking about, something you had me look up about suspensions that recently. And this year alone, not including, I guess, Ioka now because the suspension was dropped, which, again, baffles my mind. We've had 5 suspensions so far this year, including preseason with Vontaze Burfict because of hits to the head. And that includes Rob Gronkowski and Mike Evans, which was technically after the play. And then you have last year, only one person was suspended, Vontaze Burfict, for hits to the helmet. And then before that, from 2000, I only went to 2010 because it was getting ridiculous. I wasn't finding anything. 2010 to 2015, no suspensions for hits on the head. Now, the one thing that these stats didn't show were suspensions that were handed out, but then reduced. So because I know for a fact that, from my memory, that there were suspensions handed out for hits to the head. But that means that they were reduced or went to fine. There is a lot of money that's been going around in the NFL because of fines. Mm-hmm. And so in that list was ridiculoly long. Like you're in the hundreds, 200s of fines that have gone out because of hits and illegal things that have gone on in the NFL. So
the part that bothers me the most is just really the timing of it all. Like, we're in an era where we have now known about concussions and that kind of nonsense for numerous years.
Well, but that's why something has to change with the rules.
Oh, listen, absolutely.
Make it an effect. Make it. You're gone. If it happens, you're gone. If you want players to stop hitting. Now, here's the thing. You kind of have to do a little give and take here, though. If you're not going to let the players hit how they want to hit, then you need to let them defend how they want to defend. Mm-hmm. That means these wide receivers, and I know it hurts fantasy football, and I know it hurts things like Vegas and stuff like that, but defenders need a little help here, too. I'm completely on the defender side here. You can't touch anyone. You can't put a finger on them without them doing it. Listen, if you want to give, here's what I would give back to a defender. Hands on the hips. How many times do you see holding, whatever, and then you look at it, and he's literally got a hand on his hip, and that's what they're calling for holding because he turned a little bit. Listen, these wide receivers can play, but give them something.
Yeah.
If you're taking away of a player, a wide receiver, no longer has to worry about going downfield or across the middle and getting lit up, then you have to give the defender something because then it's what Mike Mitchell for the Pittsburgh Steelers had mentioned. It's like we're playing flag football out there.
Yeah.
We're here to play football, not flag football. We're here. So he had said, great, bring the flags. It's awesome. Make my job easier because then I know at least what I have to do. And I want to see a little more give and take here with the offense and defense.
I like the idea of being able. I'm a firm believer with you that if you do one of these hits, you should be instantly ejected from the game.
After review, in my opinion.
After review. First hit, I can agree. One game suspension for your first hit. Multiple
In no way,
season.
in no way am I trying to compare this, but in some sense, you have when a player has like an alcoholic problem, or there's a domestic case. What do they have to do in addition to serving a suspension?
It's always therapy.
It's therapy. It's classes. Okay, if you hit someone like this, you now have to go to classes. I want you to have to relearn, because apparently you didn't learn the last 20 years you've been playing football how to hit a player. Heads up football. You hear it all the time when you're talking about, from little kids to high school and college. It's heads up football. Even someone like John Gruden, who's well beyond his years of playing, has said the same thing. It's like he says heads up football all the time, and you talked about that a lot more this week, especially. But I'm just saying in general because of the game that they were with. But that's what should be. I think that should be part of it. Okay, now you have to go through like a special set of classes or hours of relearning how to do this. And after that, if you do it again, the penalty's a lot bigger. So if Ioka, who did this once, his suspension was dropped. Okay, they decided it wasn't it. If he does it again, it should be back on. And after that, I would just keep doubling that suspension. And if it doesn't get anywhere in that sense, because like I said, we've kind of seen the hits come a little more over the last just 3 years. 2015, there were no suspensions were served for hits. 2016, one person. 2017, 5 or 6 people. So
now here's my
it's growing. It's growing, and it's
question.
very slow. It's very small growing, but it's on all stars. It's on those playmakers that people want to see every Sunday and Monday night or Thursday night. If those players are getting taken out of the game, who do you have to watch?
Let me ask you a question though. If Shazier,
before you even get into it, this is a completely separate subject.
Oh, without a doubt.
Okay, just
this is
make
my
that
only
completely
question.
clear.
If
that
the
doesn't
Shazier
happen,
hit was caused by an illegal play, such as a perfect hit or one of these things, do you not think that this entire thing would finally be resolved and categorized?
John, I would say I'm not surprised it hasn't happened already, and I don't think we're too far away from it happening for the first time. I think that what happened to Shazier as hitting someone, I think it's only a matter of time, whether it's going to be this year or it's going to be next year, until it does happen. We've seen it is a shame that we're seeing it at all. But it's a shame that we're seeing the person who's doing the hitting is the one who's getting hurt, especially when his hit wasn't a helmet to helmet. Yes, he was
head down.
It was head down, which he shouldn't be doing anyway. But I mean, we saw it. I can't remember the guy's name. I'm going to blank on it, but I know he played for Rutgers. Same thing, special teams. Coming down, he hits it the wrong way, down, he's paralyzed. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm shocked it hasn't happened yet with someone that doing the hitting isn't getting hurt. It's like it's like the age-old tale of a drunk driver.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the one who gets killed? The person in the other car, not the person who's drunk driving. So that's like my little metaphor for it, is that I'm really surprised that the person that's getting hit, this hasn't happened to, but I don't think we're very far away from it happening. And that's very scary to think for the NFL.
Oh, without a doubt.
And honestly, and it even stinks to even think about this, who's that player going to be?
Yeah.
Whose life are we going to instantly change because players don't know how to pick their heads up when they're hitting?
The part that's scary is really how rare we see instances like this in sports, where you look at a player and go, this guy may never walk again. And
the Steelers have been very, very off-putting about giving information.
Oh, without a doubt.
So it only leads me to believe more and more he can't move his legs. This is becoming worse and worse as the day goes on.
Well, the caveat to that is the more they say that he doesn't need surgery, you have a little bit of hope that it may just be something that you kind of have to rehab yourself back into function. But at the same token, the fact that injuries like this truly exist aren't there to scare people away. For how many women can look at football and go, I don't want my kids playing football. Mm-hmm. That's not... This was his own fault.
Right, and I think the problem with and that should be more of a lesson than anything. It shouldn't be a deterrent from football. It should be a lesson in football. But it's also because they're on the biggest of stages. This is Monday Night Football. I think other than Sunday Night Football, is one of the most watched football games at night.
And early in the game too. So
right,
most
very
people
early in the
were
game,
watching.
so most people are watching. So I think it's because it's spotlighted so much. That's why you're seeing a lot of people say, oh, see, football's dangerous. It's like, okay, it is dangerous, but they know what they're getting themselves into, and he also did it wrong.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, take it as a lesson. Don't take it as a deterrent for football, because I think someone that played football, it was some of the best years of my life on a sports
absolutely.
team, because of the camaraderie and what you get from your players, and also what you learn as well as a team. So, I mean, and through other coaches. So it's one of those things that, yes, you could play another sport, and I'm sure you can get the exact same thing. But for someone that played football, I loved it. And someone who didn't play football some years, I wasn't changed either way. I missed it. I missed that kind of
There's
stuff.
no sport that's more dangerous than the other. There's risks
Things
to
can happen,
everything.
right? There's risks to every game.
So, but I've heard a lot of people really talk about the fact that I don't know if I'd let my kids play football today, and it just boggles my mind. Football's football.
If one of my girls
Sports
can
are
kick a
sports.
football 75 yards, she can play. I'm fine with that.
I've been trying to convince my wife to let my daughter play. She wants to.
She just wants to kick?
No, she wants to hit.
Wants to hit. Let's stay with football. If we make it a whole football show, I'm fine with that as well. Give me your take on what happened with the New York Giants this last week, please. Because as an Eagles fan, I know that you're very well involved in at least what's going on with the Giants and the Cowboys and everything like that in the NFC East. So give me a little taste of like what happened. What does Eli do? That's what I want to know, because I know Eli's going to be starting this week, but I'd honestly be like, after this year, deuces, I'm out. Like, I don't want to be here anymore, because clearly you didn't want me from the start.
This is the thing that I look at. We were talking before the trade deadline. I was really shocked to see Eli stay. Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to get traded. He's a veteran quarterback. He's historic for New York, without a doubt. I get it. But at the same token, he's an older quarterback. You're in a changeover. You have to revamp your team. One of the things you're going to do to revamp your team is going to be the quarterback position. All year, we have talked about the simple fact that we expect Eli to go to Jacksonville. We expect it. Him and Tom Coughlin get along great. He's going to a team that's got everything in place. They just need a quarterback. That's what makes sense for an older, veteran quarterback.
I agree.
When we look at New York and we look at what Ben McAdoo did, this is so less to do with what McAdoo did with Eli as it does that what has gone on this year with players coming out saying he's lost the locker room, with all the drama surrounded about it. Eli was simply the fans finally snapping and going, why are you benching the one person we like to come see?
It's the one person you have left.
Yeah, everyone else is hurt.
Yeah, everyone else is hurt. That's kind of what I looked at it as. It was like everyone else is literally gone. The Giants have no one else to root for on this team, because they're not rooting for the coach, they're not rooting for the players, or for the defense or whatever. They're going every week because what's the one constant in their life right now on Sundays or Monday, whatever it is for the Giants? Eli Manning is playing. Oh, our Eli Manning, our two-time Super Bowl MVP Eli Manning is there. 210 consecutive starts. This guy never lets us down from year to year. It's the one constant you have, and you took it away. And it's funny how someone like the owner in Mara has come out and said that, we were, I did sign off on this, but I think we were led to believe other things, blah, 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 blah. Bull, man. Not happening. Sorry. You basically said, you're right. We need to go in a different direction. Let's see what these other two guys can do. I trust your instincts.
And they didn't even play the other one.
I trust. Okay, they said they weren't going to play him. They said they weren't going to play Webb.
Which is the dumbest thing in the world. For what you came out with a premise for on why you were benching Eli and starting Geno Smith was you wanted to see what else you had. If you're going to do that, we've all seen Geno Smith. He's no surprise. Right. You've never seen your rookie. Play the kid.
But they had said that he wasn't prepared to start anyway. Regardless if they took Eli out or not, he was already third string quarterback. He wasn't going to jump up a spot to number one. You had to have some.
No, you put him as number two. Geno Smith starts the first half. Webb plays in the second half. Hey, or at least give him a quarter. Give him a little bit of time because at the end of the day, like you had said, your management, ownership has signed off on the fact that Eli is done in New York.
Now you say you have Eli. You have your two options here. Okay, it's either you have a bunch of options actually. You either retire after this year because clearly you're 36 years old, 37 years old.
Which is what his dad has said he may do.
Right. Well, athletes' dads say a lot of things, okay? We still don't know what's going on with Lorenzo Ball or whatever it is. So there's plenty of dads out there. I mean, even Tom Brady's dad has said a bunch of things where Tom Brady has to go to his dad and go, Dad, shut up. So I don't care what the family is saying. Let's talk about the player. He can retire. He can go to another team. I think he's a free agent after this year. He can move. It doesn't have to be traded. He can go anywhere he wants. Or he can stay. And here's your catch-22 with staying. You stay, you're representing the Giants, an organization in management that basically said we're giving up on the season. Your streak means nothing to us. Your body of work means nothing to us. We're getting rid of you. But on the other end, you have a huge fan base in Giants fan that want you to stay. They want you as their quarterback. And in a world where we're kind of leaning towards what do the fans want? I feel like we're only a matter of time until we're voting on Sunday to who you want to start for your game right now. Yep. So, what do you do in that sense? If you do stay, what is the reason you're staying? And is the fans enough? Because there's plenty of other fans out there in football that would gladly take you on their team.
It's tough
make you
because
one of their own.
It's New York.
And he's also 36, 37 years old. This isn't a 20-something-year-old Eli Manning. We got to remember, he hasn't won a playoff game since he won the Super Bowl against the Patriots. And
but this is why he's got to go. Because you have a team that you need to rebuild. You have a veteran quarterback.
I feel like he's not going to stick around for that. Why would he? Why would he? And why would he?
Why would he? But I understand as ownership why you would say we need to look at other talent because you have to look past Eli Manning. He's given you many great years, and you respect him for it, you love him for it. The fans are going to hate you no matter what you do because it's Eli and New York. They're hand in hand. It's like saying Jeter for baseball. They're hand in hand for New York. And it's hard for any New York team to have a rebuild. They don't want to see it. They don't want to do it. They don't want to go through it.
They want instant success. And Manning's that, I think as a fan, Manning gives you that instant success. But for Manning, what's around you to do that set? The only person you have on the team that is that instant superstar is OBJ, and he's hurt. He's not even coming back this year. So you stick around for next year to go through that frustration.
You look at him going to Jacksonville makes the most sense.
This is why I said with A.J. McCarron, if I'm A.J. McCarron on the Bengals, I'm pretty mad right now because you want to send me to Cleveland. Now, again, I'd have a starting role in Cleveland, but that's not where I want to go. Yep. Like, that's the team you were going to send me to. I would be mad with the organization. If I'm A.J. McCarron, I'm looking elsewhere for a backup to be a backup or whatever, or show my stuff next year because I'm not going to stick with an organization that, one, is already in the toilet anyway as the Cincinnati Bengals, but you're possibly going to, you should be mad at the organization right now. Why, if the organization is going to treat you bad, why stay? And that's what they did.
We're also talking about the organization where the players have the least say out of any of the sports. NFL players get nothing.
Right.
It's all ownership, and that's just the way it goes. But it's really interesting to me, and for me, I never liked Eli Manning. I've always thought he's a joke. I really don't like him at all. But at the same token, I look at him going to a team like Jacksonville, and I just get the giggles. Yeah. I get the giggles because I'm just like, you add somebody who's halfway decent.
You have the young talent, you have the great defense, and you have a veteran quarterback that can come in and do some great things, especially with the wide receiver core they have. They have a running back in Fournette that's ready to play. That defense is with the best in the league. and you put him on that roster for 3 years, oh man, that AFC South or AFC South, right? That's a lockdown for me for the Jaguars. And actually, if anything,
it's not a lockdown anymore.
It creates a fun environment between Houston and the Jaguars.
Oh, without a doubt.
For the next 2-3 years.
Talk about Deshaun Watson coming back. The defense, if they can get their defense
Great.
back.
I would love a Deshaun Watson-Eli Manning rivalry because I really want to take the pressure off Tom Brady. Can we just let him just live out the next 5 years, win a couple more Super Bowls?
I feel like the
no one looks
AFC
at
has
him?
kind of become like the NBA Eastern Division.
There's nobody left.
There's one team.
There's two teams left. You have the Steelers with Roethlisberger, who was threatening to leave last year and could possibly be a number 1 seed this year. And you have Tom Brady that just refuses to get hold.
What are you going to do?
Speaking of Brady, MVP talk. Dustin and I talked about this last week. I want to bring it up this week because we both have a horse in the race. We have Tom Brady, 40-year-old, and then you have 23, 24-year-old Carson Wentz for the Eagles. So we each have a horse in the race. In your opinion, are those two your top-tier MVP candidates? Or do we really have to start looking at someone like a Russell Wilson?
I think out of right now, you have two clear front runners in Brady and Wentz. Depending on how the rest of the season goes, that could potentially change. I don't necessarily foresee that happening.
I think their interceptions are one off, something like that, and their touchdowns are only a couple off. Like Tom Brady didn't throw a touchdown this week. But I think what's a little more impressive, this is why I would give, in my opinion, I would give it over Tom Brady as opposed to someone like, I give the edge to Tom Brady, is because look what their offense is doing on a rushing standpoint. They've never honestly had a rushing attack like they do now with their three running backs between Lewis, Burkhead, and White. And we're not even talking about Gillislee, who hasn't been around at all this year.
Except for the first game.
Right. So you're talking about these 3 games. I think he had 3 touchdowns or something like that in the first game. But you have this rushing attack that Brady's never really had before. And look at the numbers he's still putting up. Mm-hmm. Compared to the rushing attack of the Eagles, it doesn't really compare yet. So I get they have the talent there, but between the two rushing counterparts, the Patriots have the edge there in how much they're scoring and the production they're putting up. And yet Brady is almost even with Carson Wentz, who has kind of the team on his back in a sense.
See, I would challenge you with that because when you look at the Eagles, there are multiple games where Wentz is thrown for 180 yards, 200 yards, thrown for 2 touchdowns, whatever. He doesn't have to be everything all the time because of the fact that you have. Remember the simple fact that we've lost. Sproles. We lost Darren Sproles early in the season. Then you get a player.
Right, but you have LeGarrette Blount, you have Jay Ajayi. So I mean, to say you lost
you
Sproles, you did supplement it with with running backs that can produce similarly.
Without a doubt. But all I'm saying to that is that this entire season, Wentz has not had to be the number one thing the entire time. He's had a supporting running game.
Why is he highlighted as one?
And see, that's what I don't quite get.
That's where I get with the Brady thing, too. I'm honestly putting them 2 and 3. I think that what Russell Wilson is doing right now, and it's great. This is why I love the Sunday night games or the Monday night games, because on a national level, people actually get to see these players play. And Russell Wilson's someone that you haven't really got to see play this whole year, but you hear about him. This guy, the stat blew my absolute mind. He has he's accounted for 82% of the offense because of how much he's rushing. He leads the team in rushing. He has 35% of the rushing. He has 97% of the touchdowns. He has not been involved in 1 touchdown this year. That's it. Just 1 touchdown. I think it was a rushing touchdown that someone has. Otherwise, he has thrown that ball or he's run it in himself for touchdowns. And this one blew my mind. And this is why I almost give him the edge, just because how funny the stat is. He leads the team in passing. Now you would think, okay, as a quarterback, or maybe the backup comes in, something like that. He leads the team in passing 100.1%. Why 100.1%? Because John Ryan came in for a play and threw -4 yards, which Russell Wilson then made up. But for the team amount of, he has 4 more yards than the team actually has in yards. That's so weird to think about. So it's one of those weird stats where he actually has more than 100% of the passing yards. This guy is the Seattle Seahawks. This Seattle team is probably similar to the Browns if they don't have Russell Wilson. And you can say that because he has how much of the offense he's actually taken on himself. To compare, Tom Brady and Carson Wentz are about 70% of the offense when it comes to in general. So Russell Wilson is 10% more than that, and it proves it. The Seattle Seahawks, they're at 8-4, and they're playing the Rams. That at the end of the beginning of the year, who thought the Rams were going to be this good? So, this should have been a runaway for Seattle, and it's not. So when it comes to me for MVP, we've always said it's someone that you can't wait to turn the TV on and watch. It's someone that is putting up ridiculous stats. Russell Wilson's both of that.
He is, but I can also see why he's not really highlighted in that category to this point.
He should be.
And it's simply because the team hasn't been that exciting or that highlighted team.
But he is.
That's
the point. That's the point I'm trying to get. He's the person that's doing it. And what have I always said? As long as you're helping your team succeed, I'm fine with putting you in the MVP race. And he is. Without him, they'd be nothing. Absolutely, they'd be the boss. I mean, you're talking San Francisco is at 2-10. They probably would be about there without someone like Russell Wilson.
And I look at that the same way with Philadelphia. You take Wentz out of that equation, that team is nothing. Wentz is that team. He may not have quite as much of a statistical impact, but he changed that team.
Right, but Philadelphia has a running game, so they have something.
Correct.
Okay, Russell Wilson is your running game.
I know, it's so bad. The fact, when they signed Eddie Lacy, I was just like, why?
Why? Yeah.
Why? What could possibly make you think he's going to change anything?
So if he's doing everything, he's literally the offense. 82% of the offense? Come on. Like, that's unheard of.
We'll see what he does. If he can end up winning the division, I would put him in the MVP vote.
It's at Jacksonville this week. I think that's a true test. Jacksonville's your true. It's the number one defense in the league right now.
In Jacksonville?
It's in Jacksonville. So there's a true test for you right there.
Yeah.
And then
win it on the road.
And, I mean, honestly, the entire rest of the season is a true test for him. So you got Jacksonville, you have the Rams, and then you have that break on Christmas Eve against the Cowboys on Christmas Eve night.
Tough game there.
Tough game there. That's what I mean by a break. And then you have Arizona. So 3 of those 4 games, and Arizona's not a slouch either when it comes to defense. 3 of those 4 games are defensive, crazy defensive matchups. So if he continues to do this, and this is what I said about Brady and Wentz, like, oh, they continue to do this, but you look at their games they have left, it's not really playing anybody. I mean, they have the Giants once or twice or something like that, and the Patriots play Miami, Buffalo, play the Steelers, but then they play the Jets again. It's like, okay, you're not really playing anybody. You're playing the bottom barrel of the AFC East, and same thing for the Eagles. They're playing the bottom barrel of the NFC East, but Seattle is playing hard-nosed, defense. If Russell Wilson can continue to do what he's doing, that he's done this whole year, he's my absolute lock for MVP. Not even close. I won't even look at the stats.
The thing to look at with him is really not only that, but he has no defense anymore.
Right.
Legion of Boom is injured.
This is what I'm saying. So he's literally putting the team on his back, and he's running them into the end zone. He's like, I got it, guys. Don't worry. We got this. I got 82% of the offense here. Like, that's what's crazy to me to think about.
And he's a little guy.
He's a little guy.
Is he 6 feet tall?
No, we like little guys in the NFL.
Yeah. I also like Tim Tebow in the NFL. Can we bring him back?
Not a little guy. 6'2", 6'3", something like that. Let's get right into our NFL picks. We're already on it. We're gonna skip. Zach, don't press that button. We're gonna skip home field advantage. Unless you like it just for the sound. I like that too. You can do that. That's fine. But we're gonna skip to our NFL picks because we're in it, and we'll get back to everything else once we can. So, Week 14 in the NFL. We've got some suspensions. We've got some great matchups. We have. I went through the list, and I think I put my name next to about 5 games because I went, okay, I'm very confident. This game, great. The other ones, I feel like I could flip a coin 50 times and I still wouldn't know who to pick.
Yep.
So I look at. We start off with tonight's game, and actually for a lot of people too that are maybe watching a show or watch it later, it's for some people, not our league in specific, but it's playoff time. So with fantasy football as well, this is what I was kind of thinking of too. I'm looking at my lineup, and maybe we can talk about this at the end of the show. I'm going, okay, what's the great matchup? Like, what do I got? I had to look back a couple weeks and go, okay, if I do make the playoffs, who do I have that can really produce for me in week 15, 16, 17 type of thing? So tonight we have a great matchup in the NFC South between New Orleans and Atlanta. For this one, because of how Atlanta is so wishy-washy, and you really don't know what you're going to get out of them week to week. But then you have the Saints that every week have come out and produced. Mm-hmm. So that's where I give the edge to the Saints. So I pick the Saints in this matchup.
I'm going to preface this. I'm willing to completely trash my standings, although it's pretty well trashed as it is.
Okay. Whoa. Wait. You are 5 games behind Dustin for second place. Okay. 124 for me, 114 for him, 109 for you. So you say you want to trash the standings. You might want to think methodically these last 4 weeks, because to have a 2-week drought there and then be able to come back in.
Well, in fairness,
place.
I think Dustin should also get an 0 for 16 this week for his bullcrap picks. Anyway.
Because of the way he sent it to me? Yeah.
I'm going to go with Atlanta. And the reason why I'm going to go with Atlanta is really more so.
Would you like to know that Dustin also picked Atlanta so you can jump on the New Orleans team?
I want Atlanta to win this game.
I don't at all.
To make the division tighter. I want to see that race go.
I think the division's already tight enough. I mean, even if they went 7-6, the next closest team, then you're playing Seattle as that other team you have to worry about for that wild card, and that's just the other team. So, you're still kind of catching up. But
I want to see as many tight divisions as I can come playoff time.
I think you need to drop them so that the NFC West becomes more tight. Because if you have, I don't want to see 3 teams from one division make it to the playoffs. I don't.
No, I don't either.
And that can happen. That actually can happen. So I really don't want to see that. And part of me also loves the fact that someone who wins the MVP won't make it to the playoffs the next year. I actually really enjoy that.
Seattle and LA will prevent 3 teams from being able to.
I don't say that, because at Carolina also at 8-4, along with tied with Seattle, and then Atlanta only 1 game behind.
I still want to see Atlanta.
Again, what do we just say? Seattle has some very tough defenses to play these next 4 weeks.
They do.
Yeah, you going with Atlanta?
I'm still going to go with Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I really don't care what happens as long as Alvin Kamara goes off for like 40 points tonight. That'd be fantastic.
Can I just mention that I traded him in
didn't.
week 3 of the season?
Yeah, but you picked him up in our league.
I did pick him up in our league.
So as much as I don't want you to make the playoffs, in my other league, I would rather make the playoffs. I'd rather win first round. We're in the first round of the playoffs. I'd rather succeed in that and just move on to the finals, split the money, go home happy, won the championship. So we're gonna go. So Bryce and I picked the Saints. You went with Dustin with Atlanta. Here's where we get into some of the what do I pick, because both teams are just terrible. Indianapolis versus the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are still trying to get into a wild card spot. But they just got hit in the mouth
with Tyrod Taylor
by the Patriots. So, and you have Tyrod Taylor, who's hurt. I don't know if he's playing or not. But if he is,
practiced.
But he hasn't still practiced. And you have Nathan Peterman that's coming in, who threw 5 picks. Now he did throw 5 picks. It also was against the Chargers. Indianapolis isn't the Chargers.
And 3 of them were because a receiver
dropped the ball or tipped the ball. So, do you look at Buffalo and go, all right, you know what? It's at home. It's a rebuilding time. It's Nathan Peterman. I get, but it's also Indy coming in.
I go with Buffalo because you have a running back like LaShawn McCoy who can tear it up and you can count on. And I also will go with Buffalo because you have a defense. When they play the way they can play, they play great football. Mm. And when you look at Indianapolis, you have one person to worry about, T.Y. Hilton, and that's it. All you have to do is worry about T.Y.
We say that from week to week. All you have to do is worry about this one player, and what does that one player do? It seems like they always go off. It's the Chris Collinsworth jinx. It's like all you got to do is cover this one guy, and then he goes off for like 140 yards, and you're like, I wish they should have thought of that. They should have thought about not doing that.
This is true.
I'm also going with Buffalo. I think giving them the edge. I think they're a little mad from last week, clearly. But then you have Indy, an indoor team that comes in, and Jacoby Brissett, who doesn't. He played Buffalo. He played Buffalo last year during the Brady suspension, and they lost like 16-0 or something like that. It wasn't a good show. So I think that regardless, even though he's had a little experience against Buffalo, I don't think it's enough to propel. It's a 2-10 Indy team.
Yep.
A 3-9 Indy team over a potential playoff team in the Buffalo Bills. So I'm going with the Buffalo Bills in that one. Minnesota at Carolina. Again, the games to get a little more interesting, and this is a 1:00 game. So. For those Red Zone fan, this is one of those games I think is going to be coming back every couple minutes.
I have to go with Carolina here, and again, I don't think Carolina is going to win this game. I don't. I think Minnesota is going to win this game.
You said that you wanted to make these picks because you want to surpass Dustin, but you keep picking the same picks as Dustin. He also went with Carolina, which you should have known because of how much of a Cam Newton fan he is.
I am going with Carolina because I want to preserve my top spot in the NFC for my Eagles. I need Minnesota to lose. That's the only reason why I'm taking this pick.
Yeah,
I need Minnesota to lose.
I know you need them to lose. I don't think that's the right way about going about it.
It's not going to happen. They're going to win.
Yeah, I went with Minnesota as well. I think that team and the way that Case Keenum is just playing out of his mind right now.
Oh, without a doubt.
And also could be considered part of the MVP talk as well in the same sense as a Russell Wilson, where it's not really, you're not like a Tom Brady or a Carson Wentz with stats, but you're without you.
Also, look at most improved player. That's going to be an interesting one.
You got to think about, too, they had Teddy Bridgewater. You have your franchise quarterback who's sitting on the bench. If this isn't Tom Brady over Drew Bledsoe, I have no idea what is, because it's exactly almost the exact same scenario.
They're going to have some very interesting things
tough
to deal
decision.
with.
Well, I don't believe Case Keenum's, I think he's only here for a year. Mm-hmm. So,
Are you willing to get rid of him and keep Sam Bradford?
Dude's going to get paid, man. That's all I'm saying. Dude's going to get paid.
And if he leaves, who gets that quarterback for a starting job?
Looks good in Jacksonville, don't he? Doesn't look good in Jacksonville. You got, I went Minnesota, so did Bryce. Chicago at the Bengals. And I think it's one of those, I get Chicago. I think they have 3 wins this year. They have 3 wins. The Bengals have 5 wins. But they should have beat the Steelers, who are a good team as well. So do you give the edge?
Cincinnati sucks.
I know, but I'm giving the edge over on Cincinnati strictly because they're the home team.
I'm going to give the edge to Cincinnati just because of A.J. Green.
Yeah, I don't think that A.J. Green won't be stopped against Chicago of all teams.
I mean, the thing that makes Chicago good is their defense.
Now, Cincinnati doesn't have Mixon this week right now. He still hasn't played.
No.
He's on concussion protocol. He's got a short week. But you still have Bernard. Mm-hmm. And for anyone that fantasy Bernard, that's the person really you should be picking up right now because he's going to get a lot of touches in this game, especially against Chicago. If that team goes up by 2 touchdowns, he's going to get fed the ball the whole day. He's going to be full by the end of the game. Yeah,
I mean, in order for Chicago to win, they've got to run the football really well. Perfect is out, I think.
I have no idea.
I think he's still in concussion protocol, so I'm pretty sure he's out.
But he's not a make or break factor for me on that defense. So.
Oh, he should be.
In my mind.
But either way, I mean, Cincinnati should be able to win this game. But at the same token, you can look at this game and look at Cincinnati and go, you will find a way to lose this football game.
Is this the first week for Cleveland? They play the Packers in Cleveland. Or does Headley? I can't say his name ever. Huntley? Yeah, is he just continue on the role that he is and keeping the Packers still alive, technically, in the NFC
Huntley doesn't, but Williams does.
Right, the running back.
Talk about you finally found, well, I shouldn't say finally found because Eddie Lacy had a season like this, but this kid has come in. He looks phenomenal. He's making people miss. He's running hard. His cuts are good. His reads are good. He's patient. I've enjoyed watching him. And yeah, I keep putting him on my bench on my fantasy football team. But that's just because I have better people. But still, I think this team goes on fire because they have the fire behind them.
And possible Rodgers return next week.
Rodgers is coming. They feel it. And they're not out of it.
Is there anyone on that team other than the fans that want Rodgers back more than Jordy Nelson? I can't get a touch, man. He's just sitting there. It's like when Roethlisberger went out and you had, was it Landry was their quarterback for Steelers? Antonio Brown's just sitting over there going, MVP, man, what's up?
I'm out here. I'm open.
You get Roethlisberger in there, and it's like, look, we're back to this. All right, so we're all going with Packers there. San Francisco at the Texans. Bryce and Dustin both went with the Texans. I think that's almost... I feel like that's too much of an obvious choice for this game. But the way that I'm not ready to give up on Garoppolo.
Nope, I'm taking San Francisco all day long.
I'm just taking it for the fun. I'm taking it absolutely for them because I'm ready. I've been on the Jimmy G train for a while, and while he didn't throw a touchdown last week, the team did win,
and he looked good.
And
it takes time. He doesn't have a lot of weapons out there, but at the same token, they're not a bad team. They've lost some really close games this year. And Houston, who can look at Tom Savage and go, I can count on him for a win? No, you can't.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. So get out of here. San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, and part of me does think that Houston's going to win by like 3 touchdowns, but that's just me. So, because I think that if any game's going to be a coming out game for Tom Savage, it would have to be this one. I'm very excited, though.
Come on.
I'm very excited that I have DeAndre Hopkins in my fantasy this week against the 49ers defense. I am thrilled. This is the matchup I want to see to get past the first round. Seattle at Jacksonville. So again, that first true test of if you want to put Russell Wilson in the MVP talk, here's someone you got to punch in the mouth.
Yeah. Is it in Jacksonville?
It is in Jacksonville.
I'm going to go with Jacksonville.
Okay.
And it's biting my tongue to say that, but I'm going to take Jacksonville. Their defense is just so solid.
I think just based on the fact that Seattle has never, over the few years that we've been doing, a couple of years we've been doing the show, they've never really been a good travel out east team. And as well as they're playing right now, I want to give the edge to a defense that's just lighting it up. Because here's what you have to do if you're Jacksonville. You have to this is that Chris Collinsworth jinx. Take care of that one guy. If you can contain Russell Wilson, throw all your eggs and everything at weapons at Russell Wilson, that team is not going to beat you.
No.
So I'm going to go with Jacksonville as well because I think that they'll be more prepared for it. Oakland at the Chiefs. Again, this is like a battle for the worst of the AFC West.
Coin?
No, I'm going with the Chiefs. I think that offense is so much better than what the defense can do for Oakland, and I get that they have a good front line. But that front line's not covering people like Wilson and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. So I'm going with
it. Depends on what plays they call. That's the caveat to it.
Look what happened when Andy Reid gave up play calling.
I know. I don't know what to do.
He had a career day. He had a career day.
I don't know what to do.
Stop yelling.
Stop yelling at me. I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Okay, Detroit at Tampa Bay.
Oh, Tampa Bay. Detroit's just gone downhill. And
Detroit, who they lose to last week? Baltimore. They lost to
Stafford's
Baltimore,
hurt too.
and we all picked Detroit. And yeah,
Stafford got hurt.
He's hurt, but he's playing. But he's playing.
Yes,
They said
it
was more like bruising afterwards, like the inflation of a bruise than it is.
His hand was like this.
Inflation of a bruise. I think I just said that. Watch more Grey's Anatomy.
We only have 2
understand
minutes left
this.
on the show?
Yeah, that's great.
Holy crap.
Let's roll that graphic. Let's do a 2-minute warning. That's awesome. We'll just fly through these. Detroit at, you going with Tampa Bay? I wrote a P down, so I guess I have to do them too. Tennessee at Arizona.
I'm going to go with Arizona.
I think... No, I can't. I got to go with Tennessee. I like the way that Tennessee's playing. And as much as I really like the whole... I'm going to forget his name now. I'm trying to think of it. The quarterback for Arizona. Mind blank. He hasn't really shown anything this year. Or the games that he substituted for.
Stanton or Gabbert?
No, no, not Gabbert. Gabert's in.
Yeah, Stanton.
No, not Stanton. Stanton got hurt, and then this guy came in. I'm totally blanking on his name.
I am too.
No, sorry, it is Gabbert. Bortles is in. Yeah, Blaine Gabbert. So he's someone that is. I want to be on that hype train. I'm just not feeling it. And against Tennessee, I'm going to go with Tennessee. They're one of the better, I believe, defenses in the league as well. So I'm going to go with Tennessee. Jets at Denver. I know, right? It's like
I'm taking Jets, baby.
Some craps.
Come on, McCown.
No, I'm going with Jets as well. And it's funny that Dustin picks the Jets, yet he makes fun of McCown all the time.
Yeah.
But okay, it's fine. Whatever. Redskins at Chargers. 2 teams that are fighting.
Chargers.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chargers as well. The team is playing unlike Washington. Now, do me a favor, Redskins. At least contain Keenan Allen this week. That'd be fantastic. I'd really appreciate that. That would really help me out. So I'm just throwing my 2 cents in. I know you guys are watching out there in LA.
Eckler to
Redskins.
Light it up.
Philly at the Rams. I wish we had more time to talk about this game.
I'm going to go with Philly.
Okay, I'm going with the Rams because you're going with Philly because... Are you a fan? Do you know them well? Dallas at New York Giants. Crap versus crap. Eli's coming back. He's the starter again.
Dallas.
Staying with Dallas. Awesome. Yeah, we all are. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. Again, I wish I had more time to talk about the good games.
Ooh, Baltimore at Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I'm going with them as well. I think that team is just what they showed, the adversity they showed against the Bengals, and then they get to play Sunday night, so they get some more time off on Sunday to rest up from that Monday night game. Yeah, I'm going Pittsburgh all day. And then New England at Miami.
I'm going to go with Miami. I'm going to go with New England.
Yeah, Dustin with the lone Miami pick there, and I think he's only doing that.
He did not.
He's only doing that because he says the way that the Patriots play in Miami is never the way they play anywhere else.
No, it's not, but come on.
Not feeling it. He's JT, I'm Paul. This was Huddle Up. We'll be back next week with another edition for Week 15 of the NFL season and some other fun stuff as well.